good morning, and thank you to everyone joining us today. This is the CTSC Spotlight Series, and our November session today is Measuring Impact with the Translational Science Benefits Model. For those of you unaware, a little background on the CTSC of Northern Ohio. Our goal is to improve health of all people who live in Northern Ohio by providing resources and services to our hospital and university partners, clinical and translational researchers, scientists, and community members. We are doing this through our initiatives in 5 key areas. So our resources and services, our community engagement, our workforce development, CT funding opportunities, and health informatics. Today, we are pleased to welcome our Director of Evaluation, Clara Pelfrey. Thank you so much, Clara, for joining us. Clara is also a professor at Case Western Reserve University and the director of our evaluation program. She holds a PhD in medical microbiology and immunology from the Ohio State University. Her experience includes 19 years in translational research studying the immunology of multiple sclerosis and why MS affects more women than men. She is co-inventor on a patent and has been involved in clinical trials on MS. She has quite a thorough understanding of clinical and translational research. She has served on multiple boards, multiple working groups, and so we are just pleased to have her today focusing on the TSBM and how we can utilize that in our translational research. So thank you so much, Clara, for joining us, and you can take it away.
Great. Laura, thank you for that kind invitation. Welcome, everyone. Again, I'm Clara Pelfrey, Director of Evaluation, and today we're going to talk about the Translational Science Benefits Model and measuring impact. So just a quick overview of what I'm going to talk about today. First, I'm going to talk about what is impact and introduce the Translational Science Benefits Model. I also talk about using TSBM for evaluating research. And I'm going to give you some wonderful examples of TSBM case studies. And then we're going to talk about a wonderful cool toolkit that's called Translating for Impact Toolkit that is especially designed for investigators. So first, let's talk about impact. Historically, researchers have focused on making the link between the resources that support our research and scientific outputs, in particular publications and grants. An important question that we're now starting to answer, though, is how does clinical and translational science lead to things that improve the world around us? So scientists care about publications, and academic institutions particularly care about grants, but most of the rest of the world cares about other things, such as saving lives, improving health, saving money. And so that is why we really measure impact. So first, what impact is not? Impact is not the activities that are taken to increase the effects on the left-hand side, like publishing papers, presenting at conferences, media coverage, blogs, social media, grants and contracts. All those things are wonderful for your academic institution. However, real impact is the effect on the wider world. So things that end up influencing health policy, changing public opinion, improving medical systems and designs or health processes, advancing well-being for people, for communities, for entire populations. And why is it important? Well, it really avoids the research for the sake of research. And it enhances public accountability. It can and should inform where money goes for future research. And it increases the likelihood that research will improve public health. So why are we thinking about the Translational Science Benefits Model right now? Well, demonstrating social benefits can help you, the investigator, change the course of your study and your intervention And if you publicize your benefits and impact, stakeholders will notice. So first, an introduction to the Translational Science Benefits Model. And we have a video that we're going to show.
TSBM stands for the Translational Science Benefits Model. TSBM is a model that people can use to show the impact of the research that they're doing. Impact is the real-world change they see as a result of the work that they've done.
The TSBM was designed to help us provide a framework for talking about and measuring benefits. These benefits, we group them into 4 main categories. So there's lots of benefits in clinical settings. The second kind of benefits are in the community, in particular public health. The third kind of benefit is economic. And then finally, the fourth benefit are policy benefits. So these are things where better policies, better regulation can come out of research.
The TSBM came out in 2018. The team that worked on that realized they really needed this toolkit that researchers could use to apply the model. So they came up with the Translating for Impact toolkit. It's online, it's on our website, it's free. Anyone can go on and use it. You can make an account so you can share with partners as you're using the tools and filling them out.
We developed the TSBM as part of the Institute of Clinical and Translational Sciences here at WashU. We have applied the TSBM recently to a number of areas related to cancer research. In particular, we've worked with colleagues here at WashU in the Implementation Science Center for Cancer Control to develop case studies. And case studies are really just short stories almost in terms of why their work is important and what kind of impact does their work have. And they all use the TSBM framework to show those kinds of impacts.
My collaboration with TSBM started, I would say, probably 2 years ago. This case study reports a new technology that we invented. It's called sonal biopsy. It uses ultrasound to enhance blood tests of brain diseases. Specifically, we focus on brain cancer. One of the critical seed fund was actually from SCTS. The Pelfrey fund was critical for us to take on this risky project and then move it forward, eventually receive federal funding from NIH.
There's many benefits, I think, to using TSBM. First and foremost is going through the process of how to speak in a way that is more understandable for the lay person. I think that can be like kind of the hardest part first.
TSBM help us to build the bridge between the scientific work that we do in the lab and the community that we want to reach, because it's written in a plain language that people without scientific background can understand what we are doing.
We were really at the right place and the right time when we started developing the TSBM. We have been so thrilled at how visible and how popular and how many people have adopted it. A couple of years ago, Indiana University did an evaluation, and they were able to show that over 2/3 of the CTSAs around the entire United States were using the TSBM in their own evaluation, far more than any other evaluation framework. We just never anticipated that this would be such a useful tool for so many people.
So let's just review really briefly, what is the Translational Science Benefits Model? It's an evaluation framework, and it's specifically designed to measure health impact in clinics and communities everywhere that it's needed. It includes 40 specific and measurable indicators, and I will show you those indicators in just a moment. It goes beyond productivity measures, so beyond the publications and grants, to get to the real benefits to society. And it addresses broader impacts of research, like saving lives, improving health, and saving money. And it definitely emphasizes the importance of long-term impacts of clinical and translational science. So this is the original paper that Douglas Luke and colleagues published on the TSBM, and it's really focused and relevant for individuals, recipients of research studies, communities, entire populations, and the public at large. It also is designed to help funders and stakeholders understand the value of the research and to help leadership and staff at research institutions. So traditional metrics of publications are great, but really people want this real world change, and particularly Congress, who they appropriate the money that that is for all the CTSA organizations. They want to know what the real world change is also. So the TSBM helps to fill this gap by offering this new approach. This is our conceptual model of the TSBM. So translational science benefits are really at the very end. You can see on the far right here of the translational pipeline that moves research from science all the way to impact. So when resources come into academic institutions, there's a lot of scientific activity going on, the raw data, and gets translated primarily for a scientific audience in the form of publications and conference presentations. And that's there in the middle there, scientific outputs, translational science outcomes. And we may see important implementation science outcomes then, such as development of new methods or new theories, increased collaboration, advances in science. Then that science is translated a second time. It's disseminated and implemented for external partners, such as community members, funders, policymakers. And this second translation has to happen for clinical science to actually benefit communities and healthcare systems. So these are the measurable indicators of societal benefit that I mentioned before. There are 4 broad domains where we might see these benefits. On the far left, the adoption and implementation of new tools and procedures in clinical settings. Then, secondly, the enhancement of community and population well-being, including healthcare delivery, increasing life expectancy, improved public health practices. Then the third one is economic, commercial, or financial improvements, which can include patents and license agreements, cost effectiveness. And then finally, the adoption of policies, legislation, or governmental standards. So that can include expert testimony and scientific committee participation, as well as public health policies. So within these 4 domains, they've identified these 40 very tangible, measurable benefits that demonstrate research impact. So how do we measure that at CTSC? Well, 2 ways: progress reports for our pilot awardees and surveys to people after they've already completed their research with the CTSC. So this is just a screen scrape of one of our surveys, and it only includes the clinical and medical benefits. And what we are asking individuals when we send out these surveys is to tell us about both demonstrated benefits as well as potential benefits. The potential benefits are ones that you're working towards and you believe will occur, and the demonstrated benefits are the ones where you have evidence showing that they've already come about. Science is evidence-based, so is evaluation. So we need some sort of documented evidence to use to highlight your impact in our impact stories. So that's when you click the button that says demonstrated, then a text box opens and asks you to please briefly describe your demonstrated benefits and to give some sort of evidence supporting that. So that's how we measure it. And now I'm going to show you some examples of translational science benefits model case studies that were done right here at the CTSC. And these are all demonstrated benefits to society. So here we're looking at Dr. Shanina Knighton. She's a former KL2 trainee. And Shanina has developed a hand hygiene device to reduce contamination in hospitalized older adults. The technology is now undergoing a clinical trial to show whether or not it improves hand hygiene and reduces hand contamination, which is a big problem in hospitals and elder care facilities. Her work's been cited in 28 policy documents and in 9 different countries, and it's been presented in front of the U.S. Congress in a hearing. Here we have Dr. Sherry Bolin, her advisory work on the National Clinical Care Commission. The report is shown here in the upper right, led to Ohio Medicaid covering the diabetes prevention program and diabetes self-management program. So this definitely was in the policy and legislative benefits category. Here we have Dr. Jamie Knudsen. He patented his contralaterally controlled functional electrical stimulation. It's a long thing for abbreviated CCFES. It's a device to help people rehabilitate their hand movement after stroke, and it uses movement from the unaffected side to do that. The technology was licensed to a company, Synapse Biomedical. Here we have Dr. Tom Fraser, again, a KL2, former KL2 trainee. And Tom Fraser developed and patented a neurobehavioral evaluation tool for autism. The software is called Virtual IPM and Neuro IPM, and he holds the patent for this technology. Dr. Chak, shown here, is a former CTSC pilot awardee, and along with his colleagues, they invented a new diagnostic test and a non-invasive device to detect esophageal precancer, which is also called non-dysplastic Barrett's esophagus. The technology received FDA breakthrough designation, and the clinical guidelines now include non-endoscopic detection in their recommendations. Dr. Umit Gurkin, also a former pilot awardee, and his colleagues developed and patented a point-of-care diagnostic device that you can now use to test for sickle cell disease, thalassemia, anemia, COVID-19, and hemoglobin disorders. The technology was licensed and the device is now in at least 42 countries all over the world, and it has helped change the WHO guidelines for universal sickle cell disease screening. So the featured investigators include both KL2 scholars, Sherry Bolin, Shanina Knighton, and one that was not featured here, Gunnar Karakut, and also pilot awardees, Umit Gurkin, Amitabh Chak, and Indu Malhotra. They are all featured in a publication that just came out this year in the Frontiers in Public Health. The publication highlights in greater detail how the CTSC helped these investigators achieve their public health impacts. So now I'd like to move on to Translating for Impact Toolkit. This can be found, as you can see, the link on the bottom at the Translational Science Benefits website. You may know Yogi Berra. He's a well-known former baseball player. And one of his famous quotes was, "If you don't know where you are going, you might end up or wind up someplace else." It's just another way of saying you should start with the end goal in mind, and then you're much more likely to reach your goals. So how do we improve evaluating and communicating the benefits of clinical and translational science? Well, you start the research planning with the impact in mind at the very start. But measuring impact is hard. But if it's so important, then why don't more researchers do it? Why do so many researchers continue to rely on publication metrics? Well, here's some reasons. Time lags. Research can take a very long time to translate into impact. It doesn't always take a very long time, but it can. And then the researcher by that time may be focused on other work. Contribution and attribution. Research is often incremental. It's collaborative, it's iterative. So isolating the contribution and the attribution of a particular piece of research to a given set of outcomes and impacts is challenging, and it inevitably relies on some form of judgment. Quantifying impact. How do we determine like high and low impacts? Cost. Measuring impact alongside the traditional assessment of research quality, it inevitably adds to the transaction costs. Training. Researchers often lack the training and the tools to help them measure impact from the start of their projects. And a lack of data infrastructure. But fortunately, the CTSC has a robust data infrastructure and can help investigators measure their impact. We have expert evaluation services to offer as consultations at no cost to investigators. So, how to use the TSBM framework? Well, you have to conceptualize and design for the potential impacts during the early phases of project development. You should always integrate community perspectives across the research and the implementation phases, particularly if it is a research project that is in the community. You should emphasize the translational part of the pipeline and the translational science. And you need to train new investigators to plan for impact at early career and project stages. And that last bullet is the point that we're doing right now, telling you about TSBM and the toolkit. And in the picture, you see Doug Luke again, the developer of the TSBM. So the people at WashU and Doug Luke have developed this toolkit called the Translating for Impact Toolkit. And your research team can do the planning directly on the TSBM Toolkit webpage, or if they want to do it offline, they can download PDFs of the materials. They even have PowerPoints. That it's all free. It's all available to help you plan step by step. And they strongly encourage people to do these 4 steps. First, convene your research team and include everyone who'd be impacted by your work as well, and get everyone's voice involved in this process. Then you use a special tool in the toolkit called the Roadmap to Impact tool and map your impact. Sort of how are you going to get there? And you do this with the entire team. Then there are other tools along the way, and you can see in this figure on the right under plan, there are 4 different tools for planning. There's a tool for tracking, the impact tracker, and there are 4 tools for helping demonstrate your impact. And then finally, you review all this and you update it, and it's recommended that you do this at least annually with your team. So how does it help researchers? It helps clinical and public health researchers at any career stage, not just early career. It helps integrate the impact throughout the research process. And it helps researchers plan and track and demonstrate the value of their work, not just to their peers, but to their funders and to other stakeholders. So here's the Translating for Impact Toolkit. And to help researchers start measuring their own impact, developers created this with 9 tools, and they want you to integrate the impact throughout the research process by planning for, that's the first 4, planning for impact, then tracking the impact, and finally demonstrating the impact at any career stage. So step 1 is the roadmap to impact. And I'm going to highlight that for you in just a moment. This is a step-by-step guide to help your team do this. And step 8 is called the impact profile. I'm also going to highlight how your team would use this profile and to show where your research has benefited society. And one-pagers are great because everyone likes to not have to read too much, right? So this is the roadmap to impact. This is more or less what it looks like online. And like I said, you can do this online or you can do it by downloading the PDFs for these. It's a step-by-step plan that you do with your research team to see the big picture of how to integrate impact throughout your research. And you'll create a guiding impact document that you can then return to as needed. And you can also, you see these bright blue things, these are hyperlinks to the other tools so that you can use those as you go. This is an example of what's called an impact profile at the end when you've actually got some impact you want to demonstrate. It's a one-page summary of the project and its research highlights. In this case, the project was about reducing teen pregnancy with contraceptive choice products. And under this box at the top, it shows the research highlights, dramatically lowered teen pregnancy rates compared to the national average, dramatically lowered abortion rates compared to the national average, and saved $5 million in Medicaid costs in the process. It also shows the key benefits highlighted by category of the translational science benefits models, from the clinical benefits, evidence-based guidelines, to new community health centers, significantly lower teen pregnancy rates. It provided supporting evidence for the US Supreme Court Hobby Lobby case, and it, as I said, saved $5 million in Medicaid costs. So this sort of one-pager is a terrific thing to really highlight your impact. Now on the website that they've, the toolkit appears to look like this with different buttons, and each of these buttons takes you to another piece of the toolkit so that you can follow through it. And it's intended for individual scientists to use it, programs or projects. Entire research centers can use this tool, and institutes as well as organizations. And it helps guide funding and strategic planning. They want to put their money where the impact is, right? It helps in training workforce development, incorporating a focus on impact from the very beginning, and it can also promote culture change. So moving towards this culture of impact. I love this quote by Jane Goodall on the right. You cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make. So the goal is really supporting and demonstrating that impact and making it a primary activity of your research. But the TSBM is only one way to do this. It just happens to be one that a lot of CTSAs are now using. And in terms of training and evaluation, it succeeds when there is a culture of impact. It incentivizes more people to show their impact. It helps communicate not just their scientific successes, but their successes in benefits to society. And it also engages community partners. So the CTSC's overall goal is to accelerate the translation of research findings into improved public health. And the Translational Science Benefits Models helps the CTSC gather potential and demonstrated benefits. And then later we follow up years after the research with the CTSC has been completed to see what sort of impact the research has had. The toolkit, the Translating for Impact toolkit, helps investigators approach their research with that ultimate impact in mind. And it can help investigators, like we're doing this part at the CTSC. We have training programs to help career development. We can help you improve your grant proposals. Your evaluation core, our evaluation core can help you measure your impact, and our communications experts can help with telling your story. And that includes social media. And you can see the funny little joke on the right-hand side. But social media actually is a really good way to get out the word from the impact. So all you have to do is become a CTSC member and put in a Spark request for a consultation with us. And the Spark request is at spark.case.edu, and it looks like this. And on the left-hand side is a catalog, which when you click on them, you'll see the individual services, and you can request a service. I'd like to acknowledge the help of Dr. Douglas Luke, the developer of the TSBM, and of course the TSBM website and the toolkit. My colleague Li-Xin Zhang, who helped co-author the paper with me, and the CTSC KL2 and pilot investigators whose work that we highlighted today. Thank you very much, and I'll take questions.
Thank you, Clara. Anna, I see you have your hand up.
This is so great, and the slides are so pretty. Thank you so
Oh.
much, Clara. So if I'm thinking about my pilot awardees, do I want them to, how do I get this information to them? Do I introduce it before they apply for an award? Do I have them put a Spark request in to meet with you guys as they're doing their project? Like, what do you think?
Yes, all of the above. I think that yes, that if they know about it ahead of time, this is great. Once they've been awarded a pilot, definitely they should be exposed to more training on how to use the toolkit. And we can do some of that training, but I've also talked to the people at WashU, and they now do training also, and they're really the experts. So it'd be wonderful. Starting in January, they said that they will start up a training process again, and I think that would really help investigators to know how to incorporate this from the very start. And they also, please, when they get surveys from us, tell us anything, potential demonstrated benefits, because we like to tell those success stories.
Absolutely.
And we have published stories about the investigators.
Okay, very good. So I will definitely do all of the above. And I have one more follow-up question. Sorry. Is this appropriate for all, like, am I exposing my core utilization pilot awardees to this as well?
I think it's useful for all investigators.
Okay.
I think a lot of investigators think publications and grants. They have to, right? That's how they
Right.
get promoted. That's how they get, everything. But the rest of the world thinks about these real world societal benefits, and their work will go farther, get to more people, and probably get funded more if they really have the impacts in mind when they're writing their grants.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Claire.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Eric.
Thanks. So this looks super useful. I would say that every time there's a useful kind of organizational tool presented, that there are lots of people that say, well, where's the evidence that it works really well and then I should do this? And I don't know.
Would you like some evidence?
Yeah, give me some evidence, and then I could show my coworkers, like, hey, we should do this for our center, or for our small group of people, or our larger institute. Yeah.
Yes, I am going to. Let's see. I'm going to the website. Let's see if I can show this and share it to you. It's really, really wonderful evidence.
Nice.
Let's see, where is it? TSBM in practice, case studies. All right, let me share this real quickly so you can see it. The TSBM website you can see WashU at the top here, has case studies. These case studies were developed directly from those impact profiles. They basically, as soon as someone filled one out or contacted them, then they wrote up these stories, and they're all categorized according to the various benefits that they have. To me, and they go on for many, many pages.
Mhm.
So to me, that's wonderful evidence that it's actually working.
Great. Thanks.
Any other questions?
We have one, Clara. I would, in your opinion, I guess, what types of impact stories do you think are resonating the most with, either stakeholders or funders in this instance? Or do you think it's just more applicable to, pick one of the categories of the TSBM that most applies to the research? So who does the TSBM benefit more? Does it benefit the funder, or does it benefit kind of the community at large, reading that summation?
Here's another one where I'm just going to answer yes. It benefits absolutely. That, I mean, a lot of community members will say, we don't hear enough about how the research helps us. This helps them see how the research benefits them. If they're in Washington, I mean, congressmen, they want to know where these millions, maybe even billions of research dollars are going. How is it helping us? How is it helping my constituents? And when you look at these policy benefits across the world, a lot of the research that we highlighted in that paper I mentioned is affecting policy, not just in the US, but all over the world, changing clinical guidelines and treatment guidelines and public health guidelines all over the world. So yeah, the answer is yes. Everybody can benefit from this. And it is a new focus. It's more of a focus on impact and on benefits to society, as opposed to sort of the traditional publications and grants. So it's a little different.
So why don't more people use it?
Yeah, it's hard. Like I mentioned that one slide, it's hard. It takes time. And that's why we're here. The CTSC is here to help you. We have consultations that are no cost to investigators, and we have evaluation experts that can help people highlight their impact. We can help you find where your research has informed policy. We have tools to do that. So we have the data infrastructure to do that. We also have a lot of other experts for participant recruitment and informatics help and lots of other things.
Great, thank you. Are there any other questions in the audience? Well, maybe you're thinking of that. A couple of quick things to wrap up here. Next month, our Spotlight series will continue December. Reimagining how science speaks will be the topic of conversation. You can scan the QR and sign up for that. Of course, to submit a Spark request for our evaluation services or any other service that the CTSC has to offer, you can submit through there. And of course, in order to do that, you need to be a member. So if you are not already a member, please sign up. It is free to sign up. And again, just ensures that we know who our partners are and who our members are, and we can better serve you that way. So thank you so much, Clara. I don't see anything else in the chat, but we so much appreciate you sharing today.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining.